different version of Don't Tell Me to Shut Up. Just because I wanted to see what it might look like, what it might feel like, in an effort to increase the viewership and the subscribers and the downloads. So we're trying all the things. I feel like between TikTok and Instagram, everybody has the answer as to what you ought to be doing. None of that shit is working. But anyway, we gonna move. And I wanted to start off on a very light note because it's gonna be kind of somber. And that's the news about Ananda, the passing of Ananda. Um, Now Ananda and I were not besties, but we were friends. She's part of the sister circle in terms of what we do. And I thought perhaps having an honest conversation about choices and relationships and how they intersect. It's no secret that Ananda had breast cancer and she chose a different path other than Western medicine. She wanted to do it her way. And a lot of people felt everything, a range of emotions from, oh my God, that's so stupid, to, oh my God, that's so courageous. But I began to really think in listening to people talk, do you owe it to people to tell them what's going on? Number one. And number two, should you heed the advice of people around you, even if everything in you screams do something else? But that's like a serious question because
Yeah.
a lot of people on social media in the comments, had a lot to say. It was a selfish thing to do when you could have done this and perhaps extended your life, or how about you could have just gotten mammograms like they told you to. And I get it, the fear. It's like a hodgepodge of thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's hard because I just feel like you have the right to do whatever you want to do with your life. So, I mean, you could seek advice, but they always say you could I could tell you I could tell you something, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to take it.
Yeah.
So I think in situations like that, you always try to find the right answer because it is scary for somebody to tell you you have cancer. So even that in itself is gonna probably
Well,
prompt
we
like,
have to assume that it's very scary because we've never heard that news
yeah, well,
before.
I'm
So
saying,
putting ourselves in their shoes to say,
yeah, that's true.
I would imagine.
From experience, from experience of people around you, it's the very, and it becomes also a very intimate thing. Like there's people that want to tell everybody, but there's people that don't want to share that. And I think it's your right
Yeah.
to do whatever you want. Now, I think every action has a and whether it's a good or bad consequence, you
Well,
you
I
work
also
through it.
think that it's easy to say that when you're not in the situation, especially if you make the situation more personal. Like, how would you feel if your mom had gotten bad news and she didn't share it with you?
I mean, I'll feel, I
I
will
think you'd be
be
mad
really
at her.
upset.
I
I'll
think you'd
feel
be,
upset if you
yeah, I think
you got bad news and
you'd
you didn't
be
tell me.
right. But that's what I'm saying. So speaking from the perspective of the friend or the daughter or the aunt, the grandmother or grandfather for that matter, I think I don't know. I feel like it's a difficult thing to understand or to even process because I know before my dad passed away, I was very active in his health life.
Right.
I wanted to know what's going on, what is wrong, how can we fix it? Do not keep anything from me. He was hell bent on keeping everything from me, and it would make me so mad. On the flip side of that, I am highly secretive. If I got bad news, I would be the person that wouldn't tell anybody. Even though I know I have a son, I would owe that to him. I have family members, I have close friends, and I would owe it. You would think that I would owe it to them. And even though I know what it feels like to say, "Hey daddy, you need to tell me these things. I can fix it. I don't want to see you gone too soon." But then turn around and have the same perspective of I wouldn't want anybody to.
So why is that though? What is your reasoning behind?
I don't know. I think it's a combination of I don't want anybody fussing over me, as my grandmother would say. And I think people tend to treat you different. Oh, you let me do it. And I would feel I would lose all of my independence because then everybody would want to do things, or no one would want me to do things because they'd want to do everything to make everything comfortable or easy. And I know that's love, but it's also crippling. And I think you want people to remember you as you were before whatever the news was, whether you were vivacious and, the life of the party, or the wallflower. I think in many ways, I would want to always be remembered in that way, as opposed to this new way after this title is now placed on me. And I don't know if that is how Ananda was feeling. I know she was very secretive about it. She really didn't want anybody to know what was going on. And that is her right. But then there's a part of me that also feels like, wow, like some of your closest friends. Now, to my understanding, her closest friend did get to say goodbye because she was a part of that circle. So maybe there is a version of it where it's like the immediate circle gets to know it's the Jamie Foxx syndrome.
Right.
If you were in that tight knit circle, you got to know. But everybody outside of that does not. And so you speculate.
Right.
So maybe it's that, and that might be where everything meets. I don't know. I just feel like I wouldn't want anybody to feel sorry for me, and I wouldn't want them to think about it all the time every time they saw me.
But I mean, but the thing
But you
is,
also just said you get to choose.
no, I
You
know
get the right.
I know you get to
But that's why I
choose.
said once you make it more personal, the scale
Yeah.
tips
No, I
in the
know. I
other
mean, I know
direction.
you get to choose. It's almost it's like you're stuck in between understanding the person's choice, but also feeling like, damn, like I could have been there for you. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that comes with setting boundaries, and I guess having people around you who know how you are in certain situations or know how you would like to be treated.
Wait, but do you see how you flip so quickly once I made it a personal thing?
Yeah.
Because on the outset, you were like, well, I think that's a person's choice. They have a right to live how they want to or die how they want to. But then when you make it personal, that's why I said it's easy to just say it. But when you really begin to sit in it and you really begin to think about it, some people could feel as though this person robbed me of the opportunity to spend time with them or to be able to, you know, give them some kind of comfort or words of encouragement. And they may feel like, but I don't want that. I want you to go live your life. I want you to be happy. And that's how my dad was. My
Right.
dad had a stroke, and from the ambulance was like, don't come home, keep working. And I was like, "Are you kidding? Don't come home. I'm on my way right now." And he was so upset that I knew about this because he felt your life is more important. Go live it. Don't come see about me. And I thought, wow. And I guess both sides have a little bit of selfishness to it because when you say, this could have robbed me of the opportunity to say goodbye, that is you. That is saying, I want to be able to spend this amount of time with them, whatever it is. That's a very selfish perspective, as is the flip side of that of, well, it's my life. I get to use it how I want to. There's some selfishness in there, but there's also truth. So these are just questions. And I
Yeah.
don't really believe that there's a right or wrong answer. I think it's how you feel. And it's just the thoughts that came to my mind as I watched interviews that she had did. And she talked about, yeah, I know this thing, but I'm ready to face it. And I'm going to do it my way. And if I lose, I know I did it my way. It's my life. This body is fleeting and it's just temporary. And, it doesn't matter. I'm good either way with my choice. And so she was very defiant and very courageous, about her choice of treatment. And I think it takes balls to be that way, looking in the face of something like that, especially if they tell you you have a certain amount of time to live if you don't do this, that, and the other. And I don't know if there's really a way to know, will it work? Won't it work? I don't know. Some people say, I'd rather have a better quality of life for my last year or two than to be super sick for the last year or two of my life.
I mean, I think I
It's a tough
yes, it's a
thing.
tough thing to
It's
be
a
honest. And I mean, you're right. I mean, I guess you could look at it differently when somebody doesn't really affect you directly. When somebody's in your life,
Well, I
you
mean,
know.
don't you also think that it really comes down to you want to say what is politically correct and what seems like this makes sense to say. But then when it becomes more personal, like me giving the example of if it were your mom or your dad, would you feel the same?
I mean, I'll be livid.
Yeah, you would. You'd be
Yeah.
very upset. You'd be very upset. And I don't know, you're not a doctor,
Yeah.
right? So there's nothing really that you could do about it. But I think as a daughter, you'd want to be there. You'd want to be there for his comfort or her comfort, or to have them conversations with the doctor, whether it's, hey, get in here and give my dad some pills or whatever it is. Or from a selfish perspective, I just want to spend as much time with
Yeah.
whomever as I want to.
Yeah.
But
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I mean, the choice of treatment though, I'm conflicted because like if somebody says, "Well, I just want to just live it out and not get anything." Like I know what the consequence is. But I mean, I guess you don't know cuz
You
even if you get
don't.
the help that you need, you may still end up in the same
Well,
place.
isn't there also room to say, is it fair for me to say, I really think you need to take this chemo, but you don't have to physically go through the
Yeah.
effects of the chemo? It's easy for you to sit beside the bed and say, but you should do this and not be in the bed having to go through it, the vomiting, the losing the hair, the sickness all day long.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't know, because, I'm just going from what I've read and what I've seen. I don't actually know, but I do know it is decidedly different from sitting on the sidelines telling someone how to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think in the choice of treatment, I think I'll be a little bit more open to like if it's a loved one, I think I'll be able to be a little bit more open to accept the choice that they make, but I will still want to be a part of the process,
Yeah.
whatever the process, you know? Because
Yeah.
I mean, you said something. You said that I know that some people would like to be remembered a particular way, but think about it. If it's something like it depends on what it is. Some people may start to you may start to see that something is wrong with that person. So are you going to isolate yourself from people or to kind of avoid somebody saying, "Hey man, what's wrong with you?"
Well, I mean, I think it
Yeah.
depends on how good you are. I hide a lot of things. It's a lot of things that go on with me that I don't tell anybody about, but part of it is ego for sure. And another part of it is I feel like, you know, I can fix this or I can deal with this or I know what's best for me, and the best way for me to heal from this is to just do it by myself and let everybody continue to believe that everything is just fine. So I really think it depends, and in some cases I'm really good at it. Some cases I'm not. My hip situation, my hip surgery, there's no way I could hide. I need some help over here because I can't walk on this busted hip. That's different. There are some things that you have no choice but to ask for help. And in other things, you can hide those things.
No,
And
yeah.
I think I don't know, I think again, because I already am of the belief and I already do it, and that is if something is wrong, I'm so blessed to have never gotten bad news to the level of life and death. But there are things that I know that I have dealt with that I've chosen to keep it to myself because I either didn't want the fuss or I wanted people to just not be concerned so that they could be concerned about whatever was going on in their lives or just be happy. And that way I also didn't have to think about whatever it was. Because, obviously mental plays a big part of healing. And if your mental is down because everybody around you is down and reminding you that you're sick, it's like, how am I supposed to overcome this if everybody's like, "Oh, baby, you okay? You need some water?" You don't get out of my face. It's kind of that.
Yeah. I get it. I mean, I guess I mean, there's things that I've gone through that I just keep to myself, but I feel like maybe if it's something that's probably gonna have if it's something that's like terminal or like something that may be terminal, I may at least tell one person or two,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, again, I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer. I think it is whatever you feel. And I think to some degree, you would have to think the person who has received the news might need time to process,
Yeah.
and they might need to process alone. They might need time to reflect. They may need time to figure out, what am I going to do? And the less noise, the better.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, that could be why some people choose. I have no idea. Like I said, I wanted to have the conversation, not necessarily to walk away with a wrong or right answer, but just to kind of get a feeler for how other people may be thinking because I know a lot of people felt, why didn't Ananda tell anybody? Well, she did tell people, her close circle. But I think a lot of people who were like me, I wasn't a close friend, but she and I had conversations, several, and not just several conversations like we were business and it wasn't that. It was sisterly conversations. And I knew, but I didn't know. And I know I'm not the only one. And so you wonder, and when you think about people who are saying things like, well, why didn't she do this? And why didn't she seek treatment? And why didn't she tell? And why was it, all of those questions that I really did start to wonder, wow, do you owe that responsibility to have those conversations with loved ones? Or is it okay to decide I don't want to tell anybody?
I mean, I guess what I mean is that you still have that right. Whether whatever my feelings are towards it, you still have that right. But that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that if I find out that I'm not gonna feel a particular.
Yeah.
I think everybody has the right to feel how they want to feel. What?
Never
Now,
mind.
what
Okay, that's
possesses to
great.
start
So,
doing this?
well, because my computer is about to die, smart
Okay.
ass. I didn't want it to, so I was
Oh,
gonna try to plug it up. But instead, I'll just simply say, I'll bid you adieu and thank you for the conversation. But I think it's a great conversation to have,
yeah.
whether with friends. But I will say it is also a reminder to check on your friends. Certainly your strong friends. And
Well, are they
all
gonna
of
tell
them.
you the truth? That's the question.
Well, if you know them well enough, you'll know.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, I don't know, but either way, check on them and, maybe consider or reconsider your positioning on some things. That's kind of where I stand on that. But it's definitely food for thought.